I want to send you a Bitcoin, I punch a couple buttons and it's yours. So that frightens them to death because their monopoly on friction. So governments have a monopoly on violence. Banks have a monopoly on friction. And that's the first time I ever said that. I like that. And that monopoly is about to vanish.
Yeah.
And that terrifies them. And I think once we get the sense that, well, wait a minute, I don't have to live in a permissioned world. I mean, I tell a story all the time that, the first time I tried to transfer money from my Bank of America account to Coinbase to buy some assets. And we were early investors in Coinbase. And so I still use them. People say, not your keys, not your coins. I'm like, yeah, I know. But I use Coinbase because I like the business. And so long story short, Bank of America said, yep, 14 days. Like, what do you mean 14 days? I said, well, didn't you read the fine print? Didn't you read? Of course I didn't read the fine print, you morons. Now, I don't bank at Bank of America anymore because that's BS. Now, I know the current bank I'm with could do the same thing, but they haven't yet. Yeah. And in that world, ultimately, billions of people will use digital assets. And I say this all the time, and I'll use the prop. When Al Gore saved the internet, right? Al Gore did not invent the internet, as he is, jokingly referred. Right. That's not what he did. He did save it. There was a bill, and I don't remember if it was a Warren bill or not, because she's been there like 100 years. But there was a bill, and it was sponsored by, AT&T and Verizon. When I say sponsored, meaning lobbying, meaning bribed, just pure bribery. So this bill that she's sponsoring is paid for by the banks, just like all of her money comes from the banks, right? She's bought and paid for. Here's the crazy thing. In America, it cost $100 million to become a senator. How many people have $100 million to spend? I mean, Meg Whitman tried, and even she didn't win, but she at least had the money. Most people don't have that money. I would say of all the people in the Senate, none of them spent their own $100 million. So where'd they get it? They got it from companies. Well, if someone gives you $100 million or 10 or 15 or 20, what do they expect? They expect something. And so this bill tried to make what you and I are doing right now, voice over internet protocol, for free, right? You and I are communicating over the internet for free, and no one I respect or admire is afraid of it. That's probably not a very good idea. Yeah. If I have an idea and people I admire and respect are afraid of it, then it's probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the answer is yes, right? Because there are different use cases for different blockchains. So let's just start at the beginning. So Bitcoin is a blockchain. I know Bitcoiners don't like that, but it is. It's a blockchain. But the Bitcoin blockchain is both big B, the token, the asset, and little b, the network. The network, I think, is the most valuable network in the world. It's the most powerful computing system the world has ever seen. I think ultimately becomes the settlement layer for all things of great value. And the more valuable an asset, the more you want it on a really strong proof of work blockchain. But that asset, Bitcoin itself, big B Bitcoin, clearly a commodity. It is digital gold. Gold is a commodity. But gold is interesting. It's the only asset in the world that is both a commodity and money. Money is an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. Everything else is currency, which is backed by debt. Yep. Bitcoin is the digital form of gold. It is both a commodity, okay, big B that can be traded, and money exists in the absence of a liability. Now, all the other things like Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche are more toolkits. Most of the tokens that got created don't do anything, right? They're utility tokens. And it can be a monkey JPEG, or it can be any other JPEG, or it can be a beautiful piece of generative art, or it could be your claim on your identity, or it could be your driver's license or your marriage license or a piece of stock, or it could be ownership of a business in the form of a digital security that trades on a digital exchange. And ultimately, we had analog way back when. Everything was analog. You and I want to trade, we had to be physically proximate. I had to have a physical piece of paper. You had a physical piece of paper, a stock certificate, money, whatever, and we traded. Now we don't have to be physically proximate.
Yeah, for sure. I think his statement here, Congress needs to step in and play a decisive role in legitimizing and integrating cryptocurrency into existing financial system. I mean, how likely, I've been very pro regulation in the sense that I feel like this is going to happen. It's just a matter of the right timing and the right politicians in play, and also the right supporters, because that is the other factor that will eventually, now that we've got BlackRock playing into this, and among many other major institutions, what would you give this on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being 100%? Of us
Look, I mean, we're going to have regulation. Regulation is necessary. Look, it's like raising kids. If you don't give them rules, they flounder. They don't know what to do. They don't know when to go to bed. They don't know what not to do, what to do. Rules are good.
Right.
And so they said, no, we're in charge. We're in charge. So you as a citizen can no longer own gold. You're a criminal. Now, did everybody give back their gold? Nope. Did some people? Sure.
Last question to you, and this is kind of the current situation right now. Obviously, we've seen a pullback a little bit, but still people are looking at kind of a sign for bulls here. And a couple of points I want to kind of draw in on this, about almost 7% more USDT on exchanges now compared to the data we've seen 6 months ago. So that gets back to my point earlier. A lot of possible fiat moving into digital capacity to be prepared for what could be coming right now in terms of a bull run. And per this report, 25.8% of the total supply of USDT is now held on cryptocurrency exchanges. Also another position where people are coiling up here. What do you think is the indicator? Do you still feel it's the ETF that's going to kind of set this party off, or do you feel there's other indicators coming in from the Fed?
If the ETF were to never happen, we're still halfway through crypto summer. The halving's still going to occur. The fair value of Bitcoin is going to double, right? Mm-hmm. Because if your block rewards go down, the price has to rise, or else all your miners go out of business. That's what we've seen time and time again. All that's going to happen. Crypto fall starts next June. The rest is either lost, stolen, locked up, multi-sigged, hodlers. I'll never sell at any price, although there's a price. But call it 75% of it not interested in trading. So that leaves about 200 billion to trade. And if we get 10 basis points in that first week, that's 30 billion. That'll move the price. If we get the full 1% pretty quickly, which I actually think we will, that'll move the price a lot. So how high can we go this cycle? I don't know. Fair value, 100K by mid next year. Can we shoot to 150, 180? Easy. Max Kaiser is saying it's going to be 200, 220. Certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Will we have another crash? Sure. Because people will get too ebullient. I think there's less leverage this time, Paul. So I don't think, if you go back to the last cycle, fair value was 31. We got to 69.